there. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a social media content strategy that I've been using with one of my clients for a couple of years now to great success. And the reason why I am doing this video is because I go to networking events, and almost every single time I hear people complaining about how hard it is to come up with content for your social media on a regular basis. But it's actually very easy, very passive. It's not labor intensive like a lot of other systems out there that tell you to post 20 times a day and whatnot. And in my opinion, this is very effective. I'm going to share with you what I've been doing with with this particular client because this strategy is very low key, very non-aggressive in the growth because that's his style. He doesn't want to be super salesy and pushy. After I go through this process with you, I'm going to share with you some other things that you can be doing in addition to this if you want to be more aggressive in your sales and marketing strategy with social media. Because social media is a long game. And I think that this is a misconception that a lot of people get because when I have conversations with people about, have you tried social media marketing? And they say, oh, yeah, I posted like 20 times and I didn't get any sales from it. So it's just like, that's not, that's not doing it right. And I always feel really bad about, I don't want to tell them that they're doing it wrong. So I basically say, okay, yeah, you're right. Social media marketing isn't working for you. But if you do it in a certain way, then you will gain traction, gain momentum, gain a following, gain an audience for your content. And that is where you really start utilizing social media marketing the way you're supposed to, basically. I hate to say you're supposed to do it this way because my motto is there is no doing it wrong or right. It's just what you prefer. But when it comes to people actively being frustrated about the ineffectiveness of social media marketing, that's why I am spurred into creating this video for you because I do want to disseminate this knowledge out there for people who are willing to listen. First of all, you have to go into it without all of these false expectations. Like, oh, all I have to do is post on my social media and then get people to comment and then sales will come flooding in. In an ideal situation, that could happen for the right person or the right influencer, maybe somebody who already has tens of thousands of followers, but for the average person, this isn't, yeah, you're not going to get anything out of that. Maybe if you're lucky, somebody will happen to see your post that is like, boom, yeah, I want to have a transaction with you right here and now. But it's normally not like that. But when I say it's part of a longer game, it is part of this attraction marketing strategy as your overarching umbrella strategy. And it's just a small piece of that. Because if you don't like door knocking or cold calling or cold DMing and all of this sleazy, icky, salesy stuff that nobody seems to like doing, unless you're a hardcore masochist or if you're just genuinely a really good salesperson, then that could work for you. But for the majority of the people that I work with or that I talk to, they don't like to do that. And I can't say I blame you because I tried doing that myself. I hate it with a passion. I would rather do anything else. Hell, I would rather go out and dig ditches 8 hours a day than cold calling and door knocking because like I said, I've done them both and it's a horrible experience that I wouldn't wish upon anybody else. And that is why I have spent the last 5 years deep diving into attraction marketing. And it ties in with your branding. I'm not going to go into the branding piece of it right now because I do talk about branding in some of my other videos and some of my other content. And it is associated with your social media marketing, but it's not necessary to bring up in the strategy that I'm about to share with you, if that makes sense. So basically, what you do is once a week, turn on a Zoom meeting just like I'm doing right now, press record, record yourself on a video talking about a topic just like I'm doing right now. This is the system in action as we speak. And maybe you can use AI to help you generate some ideas, topics to talk about that are in your industry. So you really want to hone in on what are you solving for people? Why do people come to you, basically? Okay. And then try to keep your topics in that realm. And this could be a very broad realm because with me, I work with people regarding digital marketing. And when I say that, people are saying, well, what does digital marketing mean? Well, it really does mean your social media marketing, your website, your funnel, your branding, your graphics, your promotional material, your email sequences, your ad copy, your sales copy, your email copy, like everything involved, right? So sometimes I have to like wrangle it in a little bit, but find that topic, that area of expertise that you can just talk on and on about at the drop of a hat. Like you know it that well. What are you an expert in so much that if somebody says, hey, can you talk to me about such and such for 30 minutes? And you say, oh, yeah, yeah, I could talk to you about that. I don't need a book. I don't need to refer to anything. I could just start talking about it and just you riff on it. So do your riff video. I'm going to call it your riff video. Do your riff video on Zoom where you're just stream of consciousness. For some people that this is a stumbling block for, you could, write a script or have AI write you a script and read it. But in my opinion, it just comes across more genuine, more authentic if you just have maybe an outline of the topics that you're going to speak about and then just go through them and then just tell it in conversational slash story format. Okay. So you have that piece however long it is. You don't have to follow a formulaic, it needs to be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. You speak on it until you're done with the concept, basically. You have that piece of content that is teaching on a particular subject matter to its completion. So if it happens to be 5 minutes long, there you go. That's all you need. If you need to talk further on it to dial in all of the points you feel are essential, keep on talking. Have it be as long as you need it to be. It can be 30 minutes. It could be even longer. Who knows? That is step one. Okay. Record your riff video on Zoom. Then you can upload it to YouTube. And from YouTube, you can extract the transcript, take that, put it into something like ChatGPT, or if you like Claude or any of the other ones that are like ChatGPT, whichever you prefer, ask it to write an article based on the content. Now you can use that on your LinkedIn. But instead of adding a article to LinkedIn, post it in the format of a newsletter. So if you don't have a newsletter going already, make sure you have to go through a process of setting it up and create a little graphic for it, like a little square graphic for it, and your title and your audience and a short description for it. So you have to set that up first, and then you can start posting your newsletters. I would recommend, based on my experience, to do this once a week. Now you have your long form video that you put on YouTube. You have your newsletter that is based on the same information that you go over in the video. And because you're using ChatGPT, it's a little bit more formulated. It's a little more structured. Like it'll take the concepts that you talk about and put them into bullet points and subtitles, and it'll do its thing, basically. It'll take your information and sort it out in a way that it looks very organized. So now you have your long form video and your newsletter. What I really love about the LinkedIn newsletter is this is a email hack. What I mean by this is you can get into somebody's email and send them an email notification even if you don't have their email address. Even if they're not on your contact list already. And this is very important because when email marketing is one of the best ways, the most effective ways to actually convert people into clients, into paying customers. And by posting an article on LinkedIn, you're only going to get the passersby that happen to catch it on their feed. But if it's in a newsletter format, then people will get an email notification when you post it. or maybe there's a delay. Sometimes I've noticed that it could be up to a week delay for some reason. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, sometimes LinkedIn takes up to a week to get it into your email box. The important matter is they are getting an email notification, which means that if you have subscribers, those are the people that will automatically be emailed when you post a new newsletter. Okay, so there's that. I do believe that LinkedIn pushes newsletters above other content because one of my clients, I set up a new newsletter for them, and within 24 hours, they got 600 subscribers. Now, granted, this is one of the people that already started out with 30,000 people, 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. So that's going to make an impact on how many people you get subscribed to you up front. So don't come back to me and say, hey, I tried this and it didn't work. Because results may vary, right? I do have another friend who also started their newsletter. Remarkably, their follower count on LinkedIn at that point was 124. So 1,234 people were connected on LinkedIn. And she said that she had, I think, 60 people subscribe within the first few days of her posting her very first newsletter. So you can get traction very quickly when you start posting a weekly newsletter. Now what? You still have to fill up, well, let's say you want to post Monday through Friday every day. You don't have to post every day of the week. The way I've been doing this with my client for years is just Monday through Friday, let it rest on the weekend. This is the format that we've been using for a while. Once you have your newsletter, you still have 4 other days to fill in. And this is the fun part. Okay, so now you could go back to your long form Zoom video that you uploaded to YouTube. You can take your YouTube link and drop it into a program like Opus Clip, or you might already be using something that is specifically designed to create reels. You could very easily use CapCut, or there's others out there that are similar. The reason why I use Opus in particular is because it does automate this part. You just give it the YouTube link and it'll automatically come up with, depending on how long your video is, it could come up with 20 to 50 reels. And each reel, it has an AI component to it. So it's going through your video and picking out the highlights so that each 60-second reel has one idea. And sometimes it's a little bit choppy, or maybe it leaves in a section of you talking where you're not really sure what you're talking about. So you might have to go in and edit it, but I think that is only editable if you upgrade to a paid or a pro account for Opus. Depending on your budget, you could go with the free version or the paid version, depending on how much you want to customize the videos after it does its thing automatically to your videos. And on top of that, it also does a caption, and you can brand the caption to your colors and everything like that. These are also paid. Otherwise, it just has a default setting for the captions. In my opinion, it's better to get the content out there than it is to say, I can't do this well right now, so I'm not going to do it at all. Okay, this is my little hack for getting over the whole perfectionism thing, because that stops a lot of people as well, is you don't have to make every single reel like perfectly dialed in and cutting out all the ums and all the pieces that you don't like, because in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that big of a deal. There are people who swear by the fact that you can just do one very polished, well done video and you get a lot more virality out of it, but that's a little bit more advanced. So this is for the beginner, basically. Once you do this for a while and you get used to it, then you can start tweaking and fine-tuning and using analytics to figure out the best ones, what are working, what's not working, why are they working better than the others, how can I recreate that in my next thing. All these iterations and reiterations are down the road. You don't have to do all of those things right now. This is a really good starting point. With the YouTube video that you added to Opus, it will create a multitude of reels. and you can just go in and pick out your top 4 best ones, and it'll rank them too. It'll rank them based on keywords and content, and it'll just suggest that this is going to get a higher rating than the other ones. But it'll give you options, so you can go through and figure that out for yourself. So you take your top 4 and you post one of those. So you can say, depending on what day you want to do your newsletter, you could do your newsletter on Monday, and then Tuesday through Friday, you're just posting those reels. And this is a very easy way to make sure that you're keeping consistent on social media, which also contributes to the algorithms. In other words, if you're posting daily, LinkedIn is going to favor your account over somebody who only posts, say, once a month. Each one of those posts is going to get more views. So that's why you want to keep it consistent. And even if you skip Saturday and Sunday, or even if you only post 3 times a week, as long as you're doing that consistently, it still counts. You don't stop there. This is the other key factor. Just posting your posts on your own feed is not going to get that much traction. Each individual post might have a dismal number of views or comments or engagements. In fact, they're most likely going to. However, this is where the real secret sauce comes in. Because what you can do in addition to posting everything on your own timeline is finding maybe 5, 10, 15. If you really want to be aggressive, you can find 20 LinkedIn groups that you post to on a regular basis as well. You can either every day, you can post it to your own feed and to the 10 LinkedIn groups, say, every single day, or you can alternate. So you can post, you really could get away with just 2 reels a week if you alternate. You can either post your newsletter and then your 4 reels, right? So that's 5 days on your timeline and to 10 LinkedIn groups every single day. Or you can just cut the content in half and post on your timeline every other day. So you go post on your timeline, post in groups only, post on your timeline, post in groups only. It's just a matter of how aggressive you want to do this. If you have the time and the capability, or if you have a VA to do it for you, that's even better, even though social media really hates it when you have VAs for some reason, because they assume that everybody has amplitudes of time on their hands and they have nothing better to do than just stay on social media all day. In social media's ideal world, that's what people are doing. They're just staying on social media all day long and scrolling, and they have nothing better to do with their lives. But you are a busy entrepreneur, so you have things to do in addition to just posting on social media, right? So do what you can, okay? You can take any level of this with any amount of continuity and consistency, and it will be effective for you. One of the things that you can do in addition is if you have a call to action at the end of your newsletter, which is not a bad idea because you have their attention, they see you as the expert, they might want to work with you, assume the sale. I love to just assume that somebody is going to buy from you at any given moment in time. That makes it so that you are available when somebody is ready to buy from you right here and now. Availability, that's a whole other topic that I'll probably do in another video, but just make sure that if somebody wants to work with you, make it easy for them to do so. Make it easy for somebody to buy from you. And it's funny how many times I've been hunting on somebody's feed, on somebody's profile, trying to find where is the buy button? Where is the button where I can book a call with you? Where can I download your free whatever you have? Make it super easy. That's another key aspect to social media marketing, is have a call to action above the fold on every single one of your social media profiles. Okay, so you could have a call to action at the end of your newsletter, and I know some people say not to, but in my opinion, if you are offering a resource, then somebody can choose to take advantage of it or they can ignore it. And it's a lot easier to ignore something than it is to go searching for something that's not there. And as long as your whole newsletter isn't a sales push to buy my thing, if you're genuinely offering valuable content in the newsletter, and then at the end saying something simple, if you would like to discuss this more, book a call with me. Well, that's not salesy. That's inviting. That's not salesy. It's inviting. You can have it very soft offer there, a very soft, very passive, if you're interested in more. Here you go. Right? Now, what you can do is copy your article from your newsletter, accept the call to action. Do not put a call to action in this point. Copy the newsletter, accept the call to action, and paste that in a post inside of the X number of LinkedIn groups that you want to. And I keep saying 10 because that's typically what I do for my client. And it's the same 10 every time, so that the people inside of that group are beginning to see you as an expert over and over and over again. And if you know anything about touch points, then you know that it takes about, well, they used to say 7 touch points. I think it's probably closer to 20 now before somebody would consider buying from you. So the first time that they see your post inside of their LinkedIn group, they're like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe 5 times they see your LinkedIn post in that group over time, and they're going, this guy really knows what he's talking about. I'm going to start following him. And then they follow you, right? And then maybe because you're consistently posting, they see another 5 posts from you, or they subscribe to your newsletter, and then they get an email notification. So then they go to your newsletter. They have a vested interest in learning more from you at this point. And, who knows at what point during those several touch points that it takes for them to open up to you. That's when you want to catch them. So that's why that consistency is so important. So you're taking the same content from your newsletter and posting it into these LinkedIn groups every day, or every time you post a newsletter. Once a week, you're posting the newsletter into these groups. And then in addition to that, you're posting your little reels as well. And one of those posts could be the YouTube video. However, if you are posting your YouTube video into groups, I would recommend you download it, or you use the Zoom recording MP4 format, the file itself, and upload it into LinkedIn and Facebook for that matter, because those platforms do not like YouTube. In fact, Facebook and YouTube are like this. They are butting heads, right? They do not want you to post YouTube videos on Facebook, especially when you're posting in other people's groups. You don't have permission to promote yourself in there. It could be seen that posting your YouTube video from your YouTube channel is promoting you. So that's why I highly recommend uploading the videos directly to the platform as opposed to putting in the YouTube link, unless it's your own personal feed. You can post your own YouTube video in your own feed, your own timeline, but not other groups. You would post the newsletter in the groups, and then you would post the reel itself in the group, not the YouTube link, and then do that again a couple of times during the week. And there you go. That's all your content. So the whole chain of events here again is record the long form video on something simple like Zoom. It doesn't have to be high tech, okay? Upload it to YouTube. You can post that on your LinkedIn timeline. The next day, you can take the content from that video, turn it into a newsletter in ChatGPT, and the next day of this cycle is your newsletter. So you have the video the first day, the newsletter the second day, and then the next 3 days you can do your reels, and then you could post those on your timeline and in the LinkedIn groups. So you've increased the number of people that are going to be viewing your content on any day of the week without having to produce a lot more content. This is one of the biggest hacks because when I'm posting in LinkedIn groups, I'm getting thousands of views for my client over the course of that week. If you don't post in the LinkedIn groups, you're going to get maybe in the hundreds, but it's not going to be that many. That's why I strongly encourage you to post in other places other than just your own feed. And when you do this, make sure you're not putting a call to action on those pieces of content. Otherwise, you will be banned from those groups. So that is a very non-aggressive social media strategy. There are other things that you can incorporate into your daily social media tasks if you want to, that could grow your following a lot quicker. And this isn't for everybody because some people really don't like to be pushy and salesy. You could either do this or not. You can make sure you connect with new people every week. LinkedIn recently made it so that you can't really just message people out of the blue unless you have the paid account. But that's okay because in my experience, when you friend request somebody, it's not necessary to add a message to that person in order for them to make that connection. What I think is more important is that you already have mutual connections with that person. And one of the reasons why I like this strategy is because you can dial in exactly who you're connecting with. And this is where the whole target market comes into play, where having that ideal avatar in mind really pays off. Because if you have 100 followers, you can post until you're blue in the face and you're not really going to ever get any traction. You want to make it so that you're already connected with your ideal clients before you start trying to sell them on anything. You want them to just be in your world enough so that when you're posting all of this valuable content, they'll see you over and over and over again. It'll strike curiosity in them, and they will actually reach out to you in the end and say, hey, how can I work with you? Or you can make the friend request with them, and then they'll actually start the conversation with you and say, hey, I noticed you connected with me recently. What's up with that? How can we work together? They might even try to book a call with you or something. Okay, so you don't have to be assertive in reaching out to people right away. In fact, it's advantageous to not be super pushy and send them a wall of text as soon as they friend you and yada yada, because you're going to put on this air of desperation. And some people really like doing that. Some people, that's their whole strategy, is that they DM you to death. They keep DMing you until you say yes or block them. I don't personally like to do that. You can be super aggressive if you want to. There's also a way to make sure that those people that you want to see your content are seeing your content just by connecting with them. So you can go to the top of your LinkedIn page and do a search for whatever you want to. Who is your ideal person? Is it coaches? Is it speakers? Is it authors? Is it business owners? You can just come up with whatever keyword or key phrase that you want to in the search bar. And then it'll give you a bunch of different options. So you want to say people, first of all. And then the next thing is click second degree. Second degree means they're not already connected to you, but they have mutual connections already. Third degree is you don't know them, they don't know you, you don't know anybody connected to them, etc. First degree is you're already connected. So that's why you want to focus on the second degree, because the more mutual connections you have together, the more likely they're just going to say, oh, okay, somebody's sending a friend request. We have 50 mutual connections. Sure, why not? This person must be somebody I should know. And so they just automatically accept the friend request. And if they don't, move on. It's no big deal. You don't have to take it personally if somebody doesn't accept your friend request. You just keep doing this over and over. And I'm sorry I don't have an exact number for you right now. I think they changed it recently. I want to say you can make up to 100 friend requests every week without LinkedIn kind of going. Because if you are too aggressive in your connections, the LinkedIn will kind of like, hey, okay, we see you. We see what you're doing here. Calm down. So if you don't want to get in LinkedIn jail, you want to dial it back a little bit. But I think that 100 per week is safe. I think that the maximum daily is 55, so you can do that twice a week and get up to your 100 for the week. when you're doing that search, you also have other things that you can hone in on. So you can click on the little filters button on the right-hand side at the very top when you're making these searches and the connections. You can go filter, and then it'll have a whole drop down of categories that you can incorporate into the filters. Like, what is their job title? I don't even remember all the things you could say by location, by job title, by category. You can even say alumni of certain colleges and just go after those specifically. Like, you can get really specific in these categories. I usually keep it pretty general. You could say US only, job title is coaches. And for some reason, using the filters to do this search brings up better results, in my experience, than just searching the one keyword and then clicking second. But you could try that first and then see what comes up, and then do the filters and see what comes up. The key here is to just make connections with people who are your ideal audience and the people that you eventually want to buy from you. Or you can also be connecting with people that you think would be good collaboration partners. In other words, other business professionals that have a similar audience to you that you could promote each other to your audiences, and it's a win-win because you don't provide the services that they provide or something. So make sure you actually have an audience that is seeing your content on a regular basis. You could start DMing people. This is a more aggressive strategy. And once you have that connection made, I don't believe that there's any limit on how many times you could message them, up until the point where they block you. So you're not going to go to LinkedIn jail for messaging a connection on LinkedIn, but you still want to be mindful of their perception of you. You still want to be respectful. You still want to make sure that you're reciprocal and more conversational than you are just annoying them. And there's a whole art to DMing people. And some people are on the very extreme side towards permission-based marketing. You may have heard of this. And this would be more like, instead of sending somebody a wall of text right up front and saying, these are all my services, and you should book a call with me, and we should talk, and blah, blah, blah. And then if they don't respond a day later, say, have you noticed my message yet? Can we do something, blah, blah, blah. And you go just like super aggressive by following up with them until, like I said, they either say yes or block you. And then there's the permission-based one, which is more like, I'm happy to get to know you. Would you like to have a quick chat? Or would you like to attend my free webinar? Or would you like me to send you my free report on blah, blah, blah? And then you have to wait for them to respond back to you to say, yes, I'm interested. And then you send them the link. So there's that. That's the part of permission-based marketing. And just my own personal opinion, sometimes people are a little bit too permission-based marketing, if that makes sense. Like, somebody will send me a message saying, would you like me to send you my 3-minute video on how to blah, blah, blah? And instead of responding, for time's sake, I'll just do a thumbs up, right? Or I'll like their message or whatever, thinking that a positive response will be enough for them to be like, oh, okay, this person wants my link. No, some of them are like, you didn't answer. Would you like this? And then I usually just block them because it's like, I already gave you the thumbs up. Either send it to me or let's stop talking. But that's just me. I'm a little bit different. I know some people are very repelled by somebody who would just send them the link outright. So, you gotta ride that fine line in between being respectful, getting their permission, getting their curiosity, not being too pushy, not pushy enough, because that's a problem too. Like, you never close the sale if you don't ask for the sale, right? So at some point you actually have to ask for the sale. But this is all part of the nuances that are involved in carrying on this conversation on a social media platform. And you're probably going to get it wrong a few times before you dial it in and figure out what works and what doesn't work. But just start with something. Start trying it one way, and if that doesn't work, adjust it. Change your approach. Change your wording. Change how frequently you're talking to them. You have to start with, at some point, just to figure out where you have to go. There's a strong probability that you're going to start out in the wrong spot. But once you start, you're going to figure out where you're at and where you need to go so you can act accordingly. Marketing is constantly changing, shifting, adjusting, pivoting. It's not just one and done. So just don't have these grandiose expectations that the first message that you put out there is going to be wildly received and you're going to just get a flood of people saying yes. Just accept the no's and move on. Don't take it personally if they say no. And not everybody needs what you're trying to sell at any given point. You know, only about 3% of people out there want what you have to offer in the moment that you're offering it. So that's why you want to have that long conversation with them. That's why this is a long-term game, because instead of saying, oh, well, nobody bought when I made the offer, so I'm just going to remove that from the table. Instead, say, okay, you're not ready for this right now, but maybe 3 months down the road, you'll buy. Maybe 6 months down the road, you'll buy. Maybe 2 years down the road, you'll buy. Maybe you'll never buy. But you're not psychic. You don't know who is going to be that person that ends up being your best client. So you have to give it a little bit of wiggle room. And the longer span of time you can dial that in, the more likely they will buy from you when they're ready. If they're ready, if they're the ideal audience, if they're the ideal client. I think that the mindset around it and the expectations around it, you need to make sure you're being realistic when you're attempting these types of social media marketing strategies. So there's the DMs, making friend requests. And then, of course, there's LinkedIn events. LinkedIn events is one of my favorite strategies, hands down. It has lost its effectiveness recently, and I think that might be because more and more people are figuring this out and utilizing it. And one of the things in marketing is a strategy is effective until you reach a certain saturation point where so many of your competitors are doing the same thing that it starts to lose its effectiveness. LinkedIn events is one of these. Webinars is one of these. In fact, virtual events across the board are taking a dive. There is a huge plunge in attendees to all virtual events right now. So if you're doing what you've been doing, like holding a monthly webinar, and all of a sudden you're getting less people showing up, that's why. Market saturation. So this is why us marketers always have to be on our toes. We always have to stay ahead of the trends, because as soon as something is a trend, that's when they become mainstream. That's when they're going to be adopted by the majority of the people out there. And that's when that particular tactic doesn't work as well anymore. That's why marketing is a dance. It's constantly moving, changing. You can't just stick with one thing for the rest of your life and hope that you're going to stay successful. It's like the target is always changing. But as long as you know that, you can still use these strategies effectively. So I think that I'm going to go over the LinkedIn event strategy in a different video, because there is a whole system behind it. Probably end up linking it to this video when I create it. So that's all for now. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. I hope that this has disillusioned you from a lot of ideas that are basically wrong. And I hope that this helps you in your social media marketing strategies. Now, if you don't have time to do all of this yourself, I do offer social media marketing, and I will also put a link to that included with this video. So if you're interested, check that out. And I would love to work with you and help you get all of these views and all of these connections and eventually get customers out of your social media. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. One last thought. So you might be thinking, what if I'm stumbling through my riff talk and I don't want to post it on YouTube as is? Well, I use this wonderful platform called Descript. It's Descript. And it automatically goes in and selects and highlights the filler words, the redundant words. It records the gaps between talking, and you can go in and edit it as a text document and have it edit the video as a result. So it's really cool. So you can easily just detect all of the filler words, delete them, and now you have a clean, crisp version of your talk. It's like video editing without actually having to edit the video itself. It's a pretty cool tool. There is a free version. If you want it to do more things than that, you can. It has advanced editing capabilities as well. It can do subtitles. It can do intros and outros. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. But if you just want the free version, you can still, edit and fine tune your recordings at no extra cost. So that I just wanted to throw that out there as well, because that could be a stumbling block for some people that are maybe nervous to be on the camera, or they're perfectionists and they want something to come out polished. So I just wanted to give you that bonus information as well. All right. Thanks again. Have a great day.